Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, minutes are adopted. Item number 1 of new business today, Councilman Eatman, approval of disbursement from District 1 improvement funds for YMCA, total $5,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quick, this is just a partnership with Councilor Neer, Councilwoman Howard, and myself, and YMCA and Sports Illustrated to fund the basketball league at YMCA, which is going to sponsor 300 kids to play basketball for free at Benjamin Morris YMCA.
Any questions or comments?
Motion.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Item is approved. Thank y'all. 3. Item number 2, approval of disbursement from District 1 improvement funds, Dream Big Academy, total $1,000. Councilman Eatman.
It's simple. We've got a new charter school in our district. They just opened their doors up last week. We were there to welcome students there, and this is just to help them out.
Motion.
Dream Big Academy, where is it?
I Dream Big Academy is on Stillman College's campus.
How many kids will it have?
They got 220 kids right now with a waiting list.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Item is approved. Item number 3, Ms. Standridge, General Fund Budget Revision number 16.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
This budget revision is coming in 2 separate parts. The first part is usage of diversion training tech funds for the Tuscaloosa Police Department for a variety of different technology needs from their cyber unit. There's some information in there for their K-9 unit. Obviously, Chief is here to talk about any details of equipment that's needed. The total amount to move in is $77,333, of which they have about a little bit over $79,000 in that fund to be able to use. So it fits well within.
Okay. Chief, you want to come up and tell us what you're getting?
Yes, sir. And the reason why I put the larger draws, I'm trying to do less draws, so y'all have to approve them as we go throughout the year. Some of our bigger items is an x-ray machine for our bomb unit. What we have is outdated, not up to standard, so we need to make sure that's $48,000. A drone mapping software, 3D printer and filament. We print a lot of our own parts for our drones and also our vehicle installs, light covers and all that we print in our shop. So we produce those in-house because they're cheaper for us to print. You have 2 different trainings, K-9 handler training and a dispatch training, and then also a mapping system and location system for our K-9s.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion.
So there's a second part to this. Sorry, there's a second part to this budget revision. That was part number 1. Part number 2 is with Councilor Eatman's District Improvement Fund request amount. Prior to the council changeover, Mr. Wilson had spent the entire balance of the District 1 Improvement Fund amount, and so in order to be able to fund the $6,000, there is about $6,200 left in the District 1 reserve amount, and so in order to activate that and bring it into the current year, we need a budget revision to do that.
What's the reserve amount?
So so district improvement funds roll over, they accumulate.
Okay.
So
It's amounts that have rolled over?
Yes, sir. So every year, if you don't spend your balance, it kind of gets set aside into your reserve accounts.
Okay.
The reserve amount is required. It's required to be activated by a budget revision, and since it's in the general fund, it requires city council to do so.
Okay, and these 2 items are bound together not from any commonality, but just because they form a single budget amendment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Fair, you got
In the next couple of weeks, could you let us know if we have anything? It's hard to keep up
I absolutely
because
can.
it's the end of the year. And,
Sure, sure.
Mr. Crowe, Ms. Howard, any other questions? Any other questions?
All around, drinks all around.
Motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item is approved. Ms. Standridge, elevate budget revision number 4.
This budget revision is requested due to the item that was briefed to you by Jeff Powell in Projects Committee. This is the award of the FAA grant for the runway extension. It is $25,710,664, and so we are booking the receipt or the receivable for that grant award and then activating the project expenditure amount.
Motion.
So when do we get the money?
So FAA will be on a drawdown basis, on a reimbursement drawdown basis.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item is approved. I've got nothing there because we've got, somebody give us a drum roll. Mayor?
This was yours.
Huh?
This one is your discussion.
Okay.
I know, I didn't have anything to discuss.
So we're just
That's
calling
fine.
that and we're moving.
That's why I'm
people.
taking,
Sure you do.
not yet. I want to hear what gets presented.
Sure you have plenty to discuss.
Thank you, Mr. Busby.
Mayor, come on up. We don't have our big one out.
Well, there should be, the slide should pop up here in a
Yes,
second.
there. Here we go.
So this is my honor and privilege to present my 20th budget to the city council as mayor of Tuscaloosa. My 24th budget, if you count my time being on the city council. So I've had nearly a quarter of a century of experience and work, hopefully making a positive difference in the city of Tuscaloosa. This budget this year is being focused on Tuscaloosa first, as you see on the screen above. And we really had three goals going into this budget. First was to navigate the impacts of SSUT. The second was to try to, in navigating those impacts, mitigate the impact to our departments and to the agencies that we fund. And lastly is to invest into RSA. And you will see those themes reoccurring in my presentation of the general fund budget. Since we've already presented the water and sewer budget 2 weeks ago, we'll not be touching on the water and sewer budget today, but certainly we'll be outlining that with you during the upcoming budget hearings. Before I get started, I want to thank first our accounting and finance team, in particular Ms. Carly Standridge, Ms. Savannah Hornsby, and Mr. London Jenkins. They do so much work. I spend about 2.5 months with them preparing for this moment to present the budget to you. But they're doing all the real hard legwork, the incredible work that has to be done, the detailed analysis, the auditing of our findings, and ultimately our recommendations. I can't say enough about the job that they do. You and in fact the public will have an opportunity to see my budget recommendation by going to tuscaloosa.com/26 budget. We are emailing to you a PDF copy of my detailed budget so that you will have that and you will get printed books next week. Knowing the council wanted the budget early by law, I have until the last, I believe to August 30th to present my budget. Knowing you wanted it a week or so early, we're presenting it today. We did wait as long as we could to get some more revenue numbers in, which I think will be beneficial. Again, the budget will be sent to you via link, and you will also get the printed copy next week. So let's jump into the budget. Oh, one last thing. I want to thank Mike Wright for being here. Mike, I think you and I know for a large portion of those budgets, I worked with Mike. Mike is our former CFO. He also has the distinction of being the highest paid intern ever at the city of Tuscaloosa. Still has that record. Mike, it's good to see you. Mike Wright taught me so much about governmental accounting and finance. I learned so much from him, and certainly the success we have today is because of the leadership he provided this city for decades. I also want to thank our department heads too. They do so much work getting us to the point of presenting the budget. We put a lot of pressure on them to maintain their budgets, and they're certainly in here today, and I want to thank them. So let's jump in. First, I want to just highlight the financial strength of the city. I can tell you the city's strong, but me telling you is not as effective as the affirmation of having it from Moody's and Fitch. And as many of you who were on the ratings agency trip back in June know, earning this is not because we showed up. It's because of the fantastic work of our staff and the due diligence of this city council. This city is elite in its financial strength. Again, elite. And no amount of clickbait, no amount of social media rumor can replace what Moody's and Fitch designate us. And you should be very, very proud of that. The budget that you see will revolve around our 4 core beliefs, and for the sake of time, I will not go through it. But in terms of my recommendations, we're measuring against those 4 core beliefs that I ran on as a candidate for mayor for the past 20 years. That's what the people elected me to do, and we try in our budget to make that belief, that covenant we made with the people, a reality. So today's budget is a $208.3 million general fund budget and $31.4 million Elevate. Now combined, since Elevate's technically general fund, the combined amount is $239.8 million operating general fund budget. So 31.4 in Elevate, 208.3 on the general fund side. Of that, 82.8 million is designated to public safety. 39% of this budget, nearly 40%, is dedicated to public safety. 7.1 million is dedicated to the Tuscaloosa City Schools. I don't know of a city in Alabama that puts more direct funding. I'm not talking about pass-through taxes. I'm not talking about taxes that were put into place via ordinance. I'm talking about discretionary funding to their school system than what this council has done for the Tuscaloosa City Schools. 60.2 million is investing into infrastructure and 2.5 million into new employee investment, which we'll go into. People like Aisha Henderson that you see here, one of the nearly 1,400 quiet heroes of the city that show up every single day and do a fantastic job taking care of our facilities here. I can't say enough how fortunate we are to have the public servants that do what they do every single day for the city of Tuscaloosa. Also in this budget, you're going to see an investment into AI technology. The main technology platform that you're going to see us request is Peregrine Technology. You'll be briefed on this. We already have this technology within TPD. We want to move it into other departments of the city as well. We're one of the first municipal governments in the state to adopt this type of technology. We believe it's more than just potentially creating cost savings. The benefit is how effective we can be. Jayla Block that you see on this screen does a great job leading our innovation enterprises here at the city of Tuscaloosa. You've seen some of this technology in action. We want to replicate it across the 19 departments of the city of Tuscaloosa. We're also requesting the council approve an open AI enterprise license. Again, I'm not going to take away from the operations department's presentation to you on this, but I believe you will be truly impressed with what we're leaning into to meet our standard of excellence every single day. The budget also includes $4.9 million into RSA conversion, certainly the number one task. Then the reason we're able to do this is that this council, beginning discussions in 2021 in preparation of fiscal 22, we began planning for RSA conversion. And so this time next year will be the budget we'll be adopting that will include our police officers and our firefighters into the retirement system of Alabama. My budget is putting $4.9 million into the public safety fund to help us transition into the retirement systems of Alabama. This is probably one of the more difficult things we had to achieve in this budget because of many of the anemic revenue line items that you'll see a little bit later on. Another thing in this budget that you should be proud of is that through Elevate grants and partnerships, we have secured $116.4 million since Elevate was passed in additional dollars. We're nearly at a dollar per dollar match of Elevate dollars collected and the matches that have come to it. This city council and the city council in 2019, if we did not pass Elevate, we would not be in the position to do the many things that we talk about, such as Savings Center, but also the airport earlier and what Jeff Powell was talking about. So it just gives you an example that Elevate, we've been able to leverage. On the airport, and I'm rough numbers, I think our budget is $3 million. We're gonna get how much back? 26. If we didn't have Elevate, we couldn't have accomplished those types of things for the city of Tuscaloosa. You will also see that we have our unassigned fund balances have grown tremendously. Since 2020, they have grown 129%. So on the general fund unassigned, we have 34.7 million, with water and sewer, 28.8 million. In terms of uncommitted revenues in public safety fund, we have 5 million. That's in preparation for the RSA conversion. With Elevate, over 5 million, River District 6.4, and general fund RFFI over 16 million. So again, strong reserves validated by Fitch and Moody's. So in terms of looking at this budget, by the way, that's baby Edith, who's a folk hero around this place at Burrell Odom Park. When you take a look at the budget highlights, one of the things you will see is that we have been able to soften the anticipated budget cuts. We have been able to do that through the outstanding work of our team within accounting and finance. I charged them early on in the process to find as many ways as possible to navigate the impacts of SSUT and meeting the challenge of RSA, and they have delivered, and you will see that in more detail as we go through the budget hearing process. We've also been fortunate to have some increased revenue generation in some line items we were not anticipating as much growth. One of the things that this council has done, and I hope will continue to do, is we always budget conservatively. We never budget revenues at a high growth number, and so when we do get a little bit of growth, that does help us at the end of the year. The other two things you will see within this budget of significance that we feel are significant is one is that we've achieved level funding for nearly every single city department and agencies. The only agency that you will see with a reduction is going to be para, and it is because of two reasons. Number one is the current issue with the Arts Council. So the funding for the Arts Council is that we funded the Arts Council through para. That money will be taken out and funded to the Arts Council directly. The second is that the city has took over Snow Hen Park, Calton Park, Burrell Odom Park, Queen City Park, JC Park, and Springbrook Park. So we've deducted the cost of taking over those parks, para's cost, what para said it cost them to take over those parks.
Is that our estimate?
It's para's actual cost estimate. Our costs are more because our standard of those parks being maintained are higher. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with Freeman Park. So those are some of the major highlights within the budget. So let me go through some other things of significance. With environmental services, we're recommending a $1 increase per month. I can't say enough about Chris Meggs and our ESD department. Individuals like Casey Wallace that you see there do a fantastic job every single day. Environmental services is one of the best deals that we provide the taxpayers of Tuscaloosa. Customers save $295 per year of how we subsidize the cost of environmental services. In other words, if we charge the true cost of environmental services, it would be $295 more per year. It is subsidized by $103.12 from the general fund and $191.71 from Elevate. That makes up that $295 per year. Those two things allow us to keep the ESD rates low on homeowners in Tuscaloosa. So let's go through some general fund highlights. One of the things, again, that I like to point out because it's one of the few times that we really get a chance to brag is when you look at the city sales tax rate versus our peers. We continue to be low compared to cities like Mobile and Huntsville and Dothan, Decatur, Birmingham, Auburn, Madison, Hoover, and Montgomery. This is something you should be very, very proud of. We probably do not, or I don't believe you get the credit you deserve in what we're able to deliver with a much lower sales tax rate than most of our peers. In terms of total debt, this is where we stand with our peers. This is non-TICRIC debt because TICRIC is a flow-through in our general fund. This gives you a sense of where we stand with our peers. We're right in that median. As you can see, we're not Madison, but we're certainly not Dothan. So we're right there in that median part. Much of that is going to be Elevate related with the Elevate projects that we have brought online. In terms of pay increases, we're recommending a two-step movement for all public safety, all sworn public safety. So 2 steps, if every person is able to achieve the 2 steps, it would be a total of a 5% increase for police officers and firefighters. For non-public safety, it's a total of 4.5%. It's a one-step movement, which is 1.5%, and a 3% COLA. So again, assuming everyone can have full step movement, it would be 5% for police and fire, and 4.5% for public safety. The chart that you see here gives you an idea of what we've done, what we've invested for our employees over the last 10 years. When you look at our investments into employee wages, this chart gives you an idea of where we stand versus the national wage index and the national inflation index. So if you look at the gray line and the black lines, that's inflation and wage. And then you can see where our non-exempt employees, our exempt employees, and public safety have fared. The last few years, especially under this city council, you can see that we have certainly far exceeded those national averages. And you ultimately see a little later on that 64% of our budget is salary and benefits. So 64 cents out of every dollar that we spend at the city of Tuscaloosa is invested into our employees. There is bad news. We do have a significant health insurance increase, but there is a partial silver lining to this. At the beginning of the summer, we were notified by Blue Cross Blue Shield that we would have 11% rate increase. Partially, their recommendation to us was partially based off the claims from last year. We had a couple of very significant health insurance claims. We're self-insured. That was one reason. Two is the uncertainty of tariffs on prescription drug prices and the impact of that. So the overall health insurance impact is 8.3%. We were able to negotiate down to about 8.3%. So what does that mean for our employees? If you're an employee under option 1 and you're only taking your own health insurance, it would be $11.43 per pay period, $9.56 if you're under option 2. If you go all the way to the end, to the far right, you're an employee with family, it's $23.08 every 2 weeks for it's actually 24 times a year. There's 2 weeks where it's not taken from city employee paychecks. And if you have option 2, it'd be $19.18.
Is that
Yes, sir.
an increase, $20 increase?
Yes.
Okay, it's not the total.
It's per increase, per paycheck for 24 of the 26 pay periods that we have annually. So, where do our revenues come from? 44% of the city's general fund revenues are going to be sales and use taxes. 14% come from business licenses. 12% comes from property tax. 5% from lodging tax. 5% from the indirect reimbursement from water and sewer, indirect cost reimbursement from water and sewer. 4% from commercial and rental license. 2% from environmental services fees. And 2% for the reimbursement from Elevate to fund that subsidy that you saw earlier for environmental services. Now, the other includes things such as grant and interest income, building permits, bank excise tax, transfer, road and bridge, and cost reimbursements. So you can see that where we pay the bills is business licenses and sales taxes. Business licenses and sales and use taxes. That's where we pay the bills at the city of Tuscaloosa. Now, within these revenues, so you have these revenues here. Some of these revenues are restrictive. And so one of the things I'd like to do is take a look at the discretionary revenues. These are the revenues for the most part, you have complete ability to fund any way that you see fit as a city council. So we've taken a look at these discretionary revenues. It paints a picture of, what are our opportunities in the upcoming fiscal year. So if you take the discretionary revenues and our budget versus what we believe we will collect, we will have $6.1 million additional dollars. We're going to go through these tax line items in a second, but one of the first things I'd like to point out is look how anemic sales taxes are. Sales and use taxes are anemic. And I think I think there's no doubt that is a direct impact of SSUT. Less than 1% growth in a city that's growing as fast as the city of Tuscaloosa, and also when you think about the inflationary impact as well. So that is, again, another cause for concern, certainly a validation that we're on the right track. look at the anemic growth at the bottom of county sales tax. So we're very fortunate that we had growth in SSUT, which certainly doesn't outpace our loss, growth in business license, and growth in ad valorem. Lodging tax was up compared to last year. That also includes short-term rental. It's embedded in that line item. But those are the major revenue line items that we really have full discretion to make investments across the city. So sales tax. Over the last 4 years, we project less than 1% average annual growth. This year's growth is 0.93%, not even 1% growth. That's if we collect $47.5 million, which we believe we'll collect. Again, very anemic growth on the city sales tax side, our largest revenue generator in our general fund. The county tax, as you can see, is actually, we're budgeting less than what we project we will collect because of the anemic rate. And you see, again, its growth rate since 2023 is about 2%. Now, mind you, this doesn't just impact the city. It impacts the city schools because they get 20% share of the 3-cent countywide sales tax. It impacts the Tuscaloosa County Road Improvement Commission because it gets 10% of the 3-cent countywide sales tax. There are other entities that are impacted. It's going to be the county schools, Northport, and DCH are the other ones who would be impacted by that. Again, another validation. What we've been talking about with SSUT is certainly impacting the traditional sales tax collections. The good news is we saw really fantastic growth in business license, and since 2023 we're averaging about 5% growth. So good news on that front. Property taxes is your most stable revenue line item. We're projecting this year some growth in that line item with an overall, we estimate, a 3% annual growth in property taxes over the last 4 years. Lodging tax, this does include short-term rentals. We're projecting a little bit of growth in 26 based off what we project we will collect in 25. This is one we will continue to watch and monitor. We are really seeing tremendous growth within the short-term rental. Short-term rental is growing steadily, I think, at a rate of 39%. So that, again, the numbers are not as large. That 39% sounds large, but the numbers are not as large. But we're getting more short-term rental, which is helping a little bit to offset some of the drops that we're seeing on the lodging tax side. So when you look on the expenditure side, my budget includes 22% of total general fund into the police department, fire and rescue 17%. In terms of other larger departments, IT at 4%, environmental services at 6%, public works at 6%, agencies, the agencies like Paro, school system, et cetera, at 7%, and construction, facilities, and ground at 7%. So you can see that, clearly our focus at the City of Tuscaloosa begins with public safety. When you look at expenditures of all types, the biggest part of the budget includes for salaries and benefits. 64 cents out of every dollar we spend is invested into our employees. The other things that you see in the pie chart, agencies, debt service, are the other big expenditures within the recommended budget to you. One of the things that this council created back in 22, we started with 23, but that you actually created this in 22. We knew that we were moving towards RSA conversion, and we wanted to create essentially a sinking fund to be able to help soften that. This is what we project that we will have at the end of next year at $13.3 million. That will help us then make that first year transition into RSA. Right now, that first year projected cost in the RSA is above $8 million, $9 million.
To go into this upcoming.
27.
I think we have is it 13? Yeah, I think it's 13.
So we're working towards that conversion, And again, that was part of that 4.9 million that I showed you earlier in that slide. One of the things I like to do is take a look at how does this compare. I started this presentation today with my 20th budget presentation to the City Council. In 2007, 60% of my budget was salary and benefits. Today it's 64%. A large portion of that 4% increase is going to be directly related to Elevate and Elevate funding the new projects that have come on. In terms of debt service, it was 4% in 2007. Pre-Elevate, pre-Tickerick, today it's 7%. If you take out Tickerick, which is McWright's Ferry Road, it is the same today as it was when I started learning under Mike Wright. And so I'm glad today we have Tickerick, we have Elevate, we can continue to make the type of progress we've made in the city of Tuscaloosa. So talking about Elevate, let me give you some highlights. We talked about the partnerships earlier. Those are the partners who have helped us really leverage Elevate into being transformational for this community. In terms of Elevate's planning, one of the really things we got right was we set aside 15% for operation and maintenance, and that has allowed us to be able to staff and maintain those Elevate projects, whether it's Burrell Odom Park, Carlton Park, the Saban Center in 2 years from now. The Elevate Operation and Maintenance Fund gives us the ability to take care of the needs. And here you see a breakdown that this year, that 15%, this is what it will have to pay for. 1.1 million in salaries, 101,000 towards TPD for salary and benefits, maintenance costs, utilities. We transfer a portion of that into the River District Fund to meet the needs of that fund, and then we will have 3.3 million in reserves. Overall, Elevate, we believe, or we project that we will have 23.9 million in sales taxes, 3.3 million in use tax, and another 4.3 for other sources. When you less out the environmental services fee and the abatements, the total net revenues we project for Elevate will be 26.4 million. I want to brag and show you what some of the things Elevate does. It gives us near universal pre-K that otherwise people in Tuscaloosa would not have. And for your constituents, that is a $5,811 savings. That if they were to enroll their child into a pre-K program, they would have had to pay out that. That is, not only are we getting an education benefit, we're giving families a financial benefit. And 85% of our young people that come in academically at risk, by the time they finish first grade, they'll be reading on grade level, which means they will be reading to learn instead of learning to read by third grade. Pre-K continues to be such a dynamic force in moving our school system forward. I think that's why you continue to see our school system scores rise. Pre-K is certainly the beginning foundational steps in making that happen. We continue to fund summer learning. Again, it is an essential part for our young people not to have summer learning loss. And every family that gets to participate, that is a $5,000 savings for them. For those who understand what it costs to put your child into a summer program, when mom and dad are at school, it's expensive. Work, it's expensive. This has helped to defer a lot of that cost for a lot of families in the city of Tuscaloosa. And then this is my favorite, dual enrollment. I always and Mr. Tyner's heard me talk about this a lot. Somebody would say, what are y'all doing for children? I'm like, what are we not? Pre-K, summer learning program. We're not even mentioning the athletic excellence program in here today, but that's certainly important. But dual enrollment is another thing that we have implemented that is making such a difference. Every 10th, 11th, and 12th grader in our school system gets up to 12 free hours funded by the city of Tuscaloosa. Now here's the cool thing. Thanks to the University of Alabama, because they have dropped the cost of their courses, students can take up to 9 additional courses at no cost through the dual enrollment program, through Elevate. That's 1 year of college paid for free. Eli Maddox better get ready. I hope y'all keep it so he can use it.
By the way, just tuition, that's $12,000 at the University of Alabama
Per semester.
for a year.
For a year?
What I'm saying is you're paying for a year of college, it's about $12,000
You know,
for a
you-
full-time student.
You talk about a tax benefit that we
It's a lot of
provide.
money.
Shelton State, I can't say
Shelton,
enough
too.
about
I
Dr.
don't know if it is,
Coe
but it's a
and
lot of
Shelton
money.
State. If you take that 12 hours and go to Shelton State, they will take their 12 hours and match it. That's 24 hours. I think that gets you near a full year at Shelton State. That's free. I don't know, Mr. Eatman, what that would be, but I imagine that's probably $6,000. Again, certainly, and I'm sure, you know, it doesn't get talked about a lot. It's not newsworthy, right? But because of what this council has done, and because we passed Elevate, if your child goes through dual enrollment, there's a $6,000 to $12,000 benefit. If your child went through pre-K, it's a $5,000 benefit. Summer learning, $5,000 benefit. If you live in the city and have a garbage account, that's nearly a $300 benefit. We've been able to do this through Elevate Tuscaloosa, among a lot of other things. And this council, that past council, people like Ms. Howard, Mr. Tyner, and everyone part of the 2019 council should feel very proud of us keeping our covenant with the people of Tuscaloosa and delivering for them what we promised. And certainly the Saban Center. What have we done for children? The Saban Center will be phenomenal. But now we've got to begin staffing up, and this comes what you talked about last week, Mr. Busby, and you'll want to dig into during the budget hearings. This year, we're recommending $196,207 for 2 new staff positions. That number will ramp up as we get into fiscal 27. This is for fiscal year 26. One new project that I've added, and frankly, when I met Mr. Eatman out about a month ago at Freeman Park and Pool, we toured the facility, we looked at it. It doesn't meet the standard that this council has set at Carlton Park and Odom, Snow Hinton, and other places, Benjamin Barnes YMCA. We want to begin looking at planning and design about improvements to the pool and improvements to the park. Normally, we would wait to the capital budget, but frankly, I don't think we can wait. That's why we wanted to push the windows. It needs work, and we're ready to push it through, and I appreciate Mr. Eatman's leadership on that. I suspect that if we move forward, we will probably have a capital recommendation in the spring. And we're going to begin looking at, I think, taking over the park as we've done with Carlton and Burrell, Odom, and Snow Hinton is probably something that will happen, or we'll recommend that it happens. The pool is another issue because that's a different management responsibility. We also have, Mr. Eatman, I'm putting a lot on you today. We also have what to do with the vacant Benjamin Barnes YMCA. And how does that play into this as well? Because they're nearly adjacent to each other, across the street from each other. It's exciting, but also will take a lot of work. We want to begin that planning and design process. So we're asking that be included into the budget from the Elevate budget. The other reminder is that 1 out of every $5 that we spend in Elevate goes to public safety. So we should, again, something to be very proud of you. I know sometimes you may get criticism, why do they invest in this park, or why do they invest in Saban Center? Look, whataboutism is the best game you can play. You did this, but what about that? I mean, it's certainly, it's always been that way. But something that doesn't get talked about enough is 1 out of every $5 in Elevate goes into doing the number one priority for all of us in this room, and that's keeping Tuscaloosa safe. So that is the 26 budget presentation. You will get more documents emailed to you than you probably want, but the public itself can also see the same information at Tuscaloosa.com/26 budget. I know that you probably do not have a lot of questions today, but will in the future. Please know that Carly and Savannah, Ms. Standridge, Ms. Hornsby, Mr. Jenkins, they are going to be there to answer your questions. I will be as well. Mr. Busby, That's
very
the
much.
quickest one I've done in 20 years. So at 30-something minutes. So appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with you and the council and look forward to you setting those dates for the budget hearing so we can get to work.
And we look forward to boring down into it. Let's see, the PDFs are already sent to us.
We'll be sending those right afterwards, yes, sir.
Okay, and then the printed books are ready next week,
It should be ready at the beginning of next week.
beginning of next week.
Yes, sir.
Great, then you and I and the finance committee members will work out a schedule for what I expect will be two-hour work sessions. And then we'll move towards September. Members, any questions, comments? Okay, not,
Thank you.
is there a motion, thank you, Mayor, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.